Ji-woo walked down the street with her shopping bags. The sun was warm on her face. Seoul was busy today, full of people and noise. She liked days like this. Everything felt normal and safe. She heard a child laughing nearby. A small boy was playing with a ball near the park entrance. He looked happy, running back and forth. His mother sat on a bench looking at her phone. Ji-woo smiled at the simple scene. Then she heard the growling. A large dog came around the corner. Its fur was dirty and matted. Foam dripped from its mouth. The animal moved wrong, stumbling and jerking. Its eyes were wild and empty. Ji-woo knew that look. She had seen it on the news. Rabies. The dog saw the boy. Everything happened fast. The child bounced his ball. It rolled toward the street. He ran after it, laughing. He did not see the dog. The mother looked up too late. She screamed. The dog charged, faster than it should have been able to move. Ji-woo did not think. Her body moved before her mind caught up. She dropped her bags and ran. Her legs pumped hard. Her heart thundered in her chest. The dog was closer to the boy than she was. She would not make it in time. She pushed harder. The boy bent down to grab his ball. The dog leaped, jaws open wide. Ji-woo threw herself forward. She crashed into the small body and knocked the child away. He tumbled across the grass, safe. The dog's teeth found Ji-woo instead. Pain exploded through her shoulder. The dog's jaws clamped down hard. She felt teeth punch through her skin and muscle. The animal shook its head violently, thrashing her like a rag doll. She screamed, but did not let go of the consciousness that told her to protect the child. People were shouting now, running. The mother grabbed her son and pulled him away. Good. He was safe. That was all that mattered. The dog released her shoulder and went for her throat. Ji-woo threw up her arm. Teeth sank into her forearm instead. More pain, sharp and terrible. Blood ran hot down her skin. The dog's eyes were mad things, seeing nothing but violence. She heard sirens in the distance, too far away. The dog bit again, finding her side. She felt ribs crack, her vision blurred, the world tilted sideways. When did she fall down? The pavement was cold against her cheek. The dog stood over her, preparing for another attack. Ji-woo tried to move, but her body would not listen. Everything felt distant now, like she was floating away from herself. She saw the little boy crying in his mother's arms. Safe. Alive. That was enough. The dog lunged for her throat one final time. Then everything went black. Ji-woo expected nothing after that. Death was supposed to be the end. But something was wrong. She could still think, still feel. Not pain anymore, but something else. Pressure, movement. Sounds that made no sense. Light broke through the darkness. Too bright. She tried to close her eyes but could not remember how. The light dimmed slowly. Shapes formed. A room. But not any room she knew. Everything was white and silver. Smooth walls that seemed to glow from within. No corners anywhere, just curved surfaces flowing into each other. Strange symbols floated in the air, glowing soft blue. They meant nothing to her. She tried to sit up. Her body obeyed, which surprised her. She should be dead. She remembered dying. The dog, the blood, the cold pavement. But here she was, moving and breathing. A door opened that she had not seen before. 3 figures entered. They were not human. The first one was tall and thin, with skin like polished stone. It had 4 arms and eyes that glowed golden. The second was shorter, covered in what looked like silver feathers. It had no mouth that Ji-woo could see. The third was the strangest. It seemed to be made of light itself, shifting and changing shape as it moved. Ji-woo should have been terrified. She was not. A strange calm filled her, like something in the air was keeping her relaxed. She did not like that feeling, but could not fight it. The tall one with 4 arms stepped forward. It made sounds that hurt Ji-woo's ears. Not words, something else. Then a device on the wall lit up. A voice came from it, speaking Korean. "Do not be afraid. You are safe. We mean no harm. Jiwoo found her voice. What happened? Where am I? Am I dead? You were dead, the voice said. Your body expired 17 of your minutes ago. We preserved your consciousness and transferred it to this new form. You are alive, but different now. She looked down at herself. Her hands looked normal, human, but the skin was smoother, perfect. She touched her shoulder where the dog had bitten. No wound, no scar, nothing. Why? She asked. Why would you do this? The being of light shifted forward. The device translated its sounds, too. We watch many worlds. We look for individuals who show qualities we value: courage, selflessness, sacrifice without hesitation. You gave your life for a child who was not yours. You did not think. You only acted. This is rare in the galaxy. I don't understand. The tall one spoke again. The galaxy is at war. It has been for 3,000 of your years. We fight against those who would destroy all civilization. We need warriors, not just fighters, but protectors, those who will stand between danger and the innocent. You want me to fight? Jiwoo's voice came out small. I'm not a soldier. I work at a bookstore. I don't know how to fight. We will teach you, the silver-feathered one said through the translator. Your species is unknown to the greater galaxy. Humans have never left their world in any significant way. We did not know what you were capable of until we observed your final act. You charged an infected predator to save another. No calculation of survival, no hesitation, just action. The being of light pulsed brighter. Most species in the galaxy evolved as prey. They run from danger. They survive through caution and fear. A few evolved as predators. They fight only to kill and feed. But humans appear to be something else, something rare. You are predators who choose to protect. You hunt danger itself to keep others safe. Jiwoo stood up slowly. Her new body felt strange but strong, stronger than before. What if I say no? What if I want to go home? The room was quiet for a moment. The tall being's golden eyes dimmed slightly. We cannot send you home. Your old body is gone. Earth's technology cannot support your new form. You would die again permanently this time. We are sorry. We did not have time to ask your permission. Death happens quickly. She felt anger rise in her chest. They had taken her choice away, taken her life, her world, everything she knew. So I'm trapped? You are recruited, the light being said. We offer you purpose, meaning, a chance to do what you did in that park, but on a scale you cannot imagine. You can save not just one child, but billions, entire worlds. And if I refuse to fight? Then you will live here, in this facility, for the rest of your extended life. We will not force you to fight. We are not like those we battle against, but we hope you will choose to help. The galaxy needs humans like you. It needs protectors who do not count the cost. Jiwoo walked to the wall. It showed an image of space, stars beyond counting. Somewhere out there were people fighting and dying. Somewhere out there were innocents who needed protection. She thought of the little boy in the park, his mother's grateful tears. The feeling of knowing her death meant something. How long do I have to decide? She asked. As long as you need, the tall one said. But know this, a battle is happening now on a world called Thresh 9. If we do not send reinforcements soon, 3 million civilians will die. We have troops fighting there, good soldiers, but they lack what you possess. They lack the human instinct to protect at any cost. 3 million lives. Jiwoo closed her eyes. She saw the little boy again, safe in his mother's arms. She imagined 3 million children, 3 million families. She thought about running toward danger instead of away from it. It was not courage, she realized. It was just who she was. Teach me to fight, she said quietly. Show me how to protect them. The three beings made sounds that might have been approval. The translator spoke one final time. "Welcome to the Galactic Defense Corps, Jiwoo of Earth. May your sacrifice honor all humanity." She looked at the stars and wondered what hell she had just volunteered for. The training lasted 3 days. That was all the time they had. Jiwoo learned fast because she had to. The weapons were strange but simple enough. Point and fire. The armor molded to her body like a second skin, light but stronger than any metal on Earth. The language implant in her brain hurt for the first day. Then suddenly she could understand everyone around her. The instructors were professional but cold. They taught her to move, to shoot, to survive. They did not teach her to think like a soldier. There was no time for that. On the 3rd day, they put her on a transport ship with a dozen other recruits. None of them were human. She was the only one. The ship was loud and cramped. It smelled like oil and something sharp that made her nose itch. The other recruits stared at her with too many eyes, or sensors, or whatever they used to see. She stared back and tried to look confident. Inside, her stomach twisted with fear. The soldier next to her had blue skin covered in scales. He had 3 arms and a tail that kept twitching. "What are you?" he asked in a clicking language that her implant translated instantly. "Human," Jiwoo said. "From Earth. Never heard of it." He showed teeth that were all sharp points. "You look weak. Prey species?" "I guess you will find out," she said. He laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Then the ship lurched and everyone went quiet. They dropped through the atmosphere of Thresh 9 in 30 seconds of pure terror. The transport shook and screamed. Red lights flashed. Someone was praying in a language the implant could not translate. Then they hit ground hard enough to rattle Jiwoo's bones. The loading ramp dropped. Heat and smoke poured in. "Move, move, move!" someone shouted. Jiwoo ran down the ramp into hell. The sky was the color of rust. 3 suns hung overhead, turning everything orange and red. The air was hot enough to hurt her lungs. All around her, buildings burned. Explosions echoed in the distance. The sound of weapons fire was constant, a chattering roar that never stopped. A sergeant with gray skin and 6 legs pointed at Jiwoo and 5 others. "You 6, follow me. Your squad leader is waiting at checkpoint 7. Try not to die on the way there." They ran through streets of broken stone. Bodies lay everywhere. Some wore armor like hers. Others wore different colors, different styles. All of them were dead. Jiwoo tried not to look, but could not help it. This was what war looked like. This was what she had volunteered for. Something exploded to her left. The blast wave knocked her down. Her armor absorbed most of it, but she still felt like she had been kicked by a giant. Her ears rang. Someone grabbed her arm and pulled her up. The blue-scaled soldier from the ship. He dragged her into cover behind a ruined wall. "Stay low!" he shouted over the noise. "Energy weapons can punch through that armor if you give them a clean shot." Jiwoo nodded, too breathless to speak. They made it to checkpoint 7. It was just a hole in the ground with sandbags around it. Soldiers huddled inside, looking tired and scared. The sergeant pointed to a figure standing near the back. "There's your squad leader. Good luck." The squad leader turned around. Jiwoo's first thought was that they looked like a person made of crystal. Their body was translucent and faceted, catching the light of the 3 suns. They were beautiful and frightening at the same time. "New meet," the squad leader said. Their voice was surprisingly soft. "I'm Tae-min. I keep you alive if you listen. You die if you do not. Understood?" The 5 recruits nodded. Jiwoo studied Tae-min carefully. They moved with confidence, every motion precise. A leader who had seen combat before. "You," Tae-min pointed at Jiwoo. "What species?" "Human." Taemin's crystalline face showed no expression, but Jiwoo felt the assessment happening. "Never heard of humans. Prey or predator?" "Does it matter?" Jiwoo asked. "Yes. Prey species panic under fire. Predators hold the line. Which are you?" Jiwoo thought about the dog, the teeth, the moment she ran toward danger instead of away. "I guess we will find out." Tae-min made a sound that might have been approval or might have been doubt. "Welcome to Fire Squad. Try to survive your first day." The rest of the squad was already there. Hana was a tall, thin being with pale skin and large black eyes. She had no mouth, but her voice appeared directly in Ji-woo's head when she spoke. It was startling, but not unpleasant. "Hello, new one. I am Hana. I see thoughts and feel emotions. Do not worry. I only peek when necessary." "That's unsettling," Ji-woo said. "Yes, most think so." Hana's telepathic voice carried something like amusement. The others introduced themselves quickly. Bomb was a mechanical soldier, more robot than organic. Day was a four-armed fighter who never stopped moving. Min was short and covered in fur, with eyes like a cat. They all looked experienced. They all looked at Ji-woo like she was already dead. Tae-min gathered them together. "Listen, the Vath Corps are pushing hard on the Eastern District. Command wants us to hold Building 47. It's a refugee shelter, 3,000 civilians inside, mostly children and elderly. We hold or they die. Simple as that." "How many Vath Corps?" Bomb asked in a mechanical voice. "At least 50 confirmed, probably more." "There are only 6 of us," Min said, ears flat against their head. "7, Tae-min corrected, glancing at the new recruits. "And yes, the numbers are bad. But running means those civilians die. I do not run. Anyone who wants to can leave now. No judgment." Nobody moved. Ji-woo felt her heart hammering but kept her feet planted. 50 enemies. She had never fought anyone in her life before 3 days ago. But the image of 3,000 children flashed in her mind. Children like the boy in the park. "Good," Tae-min said. "Move out." Building 47 was a squat concrete structure that had seen better days. Blast marks scarred the walls. Windows were shattered. The front door hung off its hinges. Inside, Ji-woo could hear voices, scared voices, children crying. Tae-min positioned them quickly. "Bomb, Day, take the upper floors. Sniper positions. Min, watch our back. Hana, stay mobile and keep us informed of enemy movements. New recruits, you are with me on the main floor. We hold the entrance." They had 15 minutes before the Vath Corps arrived. Ji-woo used that time to check her weapon 3 times and try not to think about dying. The blue-scaled soldier from the transport was next to her. His name was Quan. He looked as scared as she felt. "First combat?" he asked. "Yes. You?" "Third day on Thresh 9. Lost half my squad yesterday." His tail twitched faster. "Vath Corps do not take prisoners. They do not negotiate. They only kill." "What do they look like?" "You will see soon enough." Hana's voice filled Ji-woo's head suddenly. "They come. 63 of them, moving fast. You have 2 minutes." Tae-min's crystalline form seemed to harden. "Weapons ready. Remember your training. Controlled bursts. Pick your targets. Do not waste ammunition. And whatever happens, we do not let them through that door." Ji-woo took position behind a pile of rubble. Her hands were steady on her weapon, which surprised her. She thought she would shake. Instead, she felt cold and focused. The crying children behind her had stopped. They were silent now, waiting. The ground shook. Heavy footsteps. Many of them. The Vath Corps appeared in the street outside. They were massive, each one twice as tall as Ji-woo. Their bodies were covered in black armor that looked organic, like it had grown instead of being built. 4 arms each, all holding weapons. Their faces were nightmares, all teeth and red eyes. They moved fast, despite their size, flowing down the street like a dark wave. "Fire!" Tae-min shouted. The world exploded into noise and light. Ji-woo pulled her trigger and felt her weapon kick against her shoulder. Energy bolts streaked across the space between buildings and soldiers. The Vath Corps returned fire immediately. The air became a storm of deadly light. A Vath Corps went down, then another, but they kept coming. They charged the building like they felt no fear at all. Jiwoo fired again and again, her training taking over. Aim, fire, move, aim, fire, move. Do not stay in one place too long. Something hit the wall next to her head. Stone exploded into hot fragments that stung her cheek. She ducked, rolled, came up firing from a new position. A Vathkor was almost at the door. She shot it in what she hoped was its head. It stumbled but did not fall. Taemin appeared beside the creature and drove a crystalline blade through its neck. The Vathkor collapsed, nearly crushing Taemin on the way down. "They are tough," Taemin shouted. "Do not expect one-shot kills." The battle became chaos. Quan went down screaming. A hole burned through his leg. One of the other recruits stopped moving, a Vathkor weapon having found its mark. The air smelled like burning metal and something worse. They were losing. The Vathkor reached the entrance. 6 of them, pushing inside. Too close for ranged weapons. Taemin engaged them in close combat, moving like water, every strike precise. But even crystal could crack. One of Taemin's arms hung uselessly. Jiwoo saw a Vathkor break past the squad leader. It headed straight for the door where the civilians waited, where the children were hiding. She moved without thinking, just like in the park, just like with the dog. She ran toward danger instead of away from it. Her weapon was empty, no time to reload. The Vathkor raised its weapon toward the door. Jiwoo threw herself at the creature, slamming into it with all her weight. It barely budged, but it was enough. The creature's weapon fired wild, the shot going high. The Vathkor turned its red eyes on her. 4 arms grabbed her body. She felt ribs creak. It lifted her off the ground like she weighed nothing. Its mouth opened, showing rows of teeth. Jiwoo jammed her combat knife into the softest part she could reach, the creature's throat. She drove it in deep and twisted. Hot black blood poured over her hands. The Vathkor dropped her and staggered back. It was not dead, but it was hurt. Hana appeared from nowhere and finished it with a precise shot to the head. "Foolish human," Hana's voice said in Jiwoo's mind. But there was something else in the thought, too. Respect, maybe. The battle ended 5 minutes later. The Vathkor retreated, leaving their dead behind. Fire Squad counted their losses. 2 recruits dead. Quan would live but needed medical care. Everyone else was wounded but functional. Taemin approached Jiwoo. "You charged a Vathkor warrior with no ammunition." "It was going for the children," Jiwoo said simply. "That was stupid. You should have run, found cover, reloaded your weapon. There was no time." Taemin stared at her with those unreadable crystalline eyes. "You moved toward the threat, not away. Why?" Jiwoo did not know how to explain it. That in that moment, she was not thinking about herself at all, only about the small bodies hiding behind that door, only about keeping them safe. "Because that's what you do," she finally said. Something changed in Taemin's expression, a crack in the crystal mask. Maybe humans are not prey after all. Behind the door, a child started crying. Then another. The sounds of relief and fear mixed together. 3,000 lives saved for another day. Jiwoo sat down hard, her body finally registering all the pain. But underneath the hurt was something else, something she had felt only once before, on a Seoul street when a little boy ran away safe. Purpose. 3 weeks passed on Thresh 9. Jiwoo lost track of the days. Everything blurred together into a cycle of fighting, sleeping, and fighting again. The 3 suns never truly set, just dimmed slightly during what passed for night. Time became measured in missions survived, not hours or days. Fire Squad grew smaller. Quan died on his 2nd day back from medical. Min took a direct hit protecting civilians during an evacuation. The replacements who came were green and scared, just like Jiwoo had been. Some lasted days, some lasted hours. But Jiwoo survived, and she learned. She learned that the Vathkor never retreated unless they absolutely had to. They believed retreat was the same as death. She learned where their armor was weakest and how to exploit those gaps. She learned to read a battlefield, to know when to push and when to pull back. Most importantly, she learned something about herself. The fear never went away, but it stopped controlling her. She could feel terror clawing at her chest and still move forward, still do what needed doing. Taemin noticed. The squad leader watched Ji-woo carefully during every engagement. After one particularly brutal fight, Taemin pulled her aside. "You move different than the others," Taemin said. "When things go wrong, most soldiers freeze or panic. You get calmer. Why?" Ji-woo thought about it. When things go wrong, someone needs help. That is when it matters most. You think about others before yourself. Does not everyone? Taemin's crystalline face caught the red light of the suns. No, most species think of survival first. Even trained soldiers have to fight their instincts to stand ground. You do not seem to have that conflict. Maybe humans are just wired different, Ji-woo said. Perhaps. Taemin paused, as if considering something difficult. My people evolved as prey, fast, clever, able to hide. We learned to fight because we had to, but it is not natural to us. Every battle requires us to override millions of years of instinct telling us to run. You have no such instinct to override. I feel fear, Ji-woo said. Every single time. But you do not run. Running never occurred to me. Taemin made a sound Ji-woo had learned meant thinking. That should not be possible for a non-predator species, yet humans appear to be prey animals by physical design. No claws, no venom, no armor, weak bite force, but you behave like apex predators. It makes no sense. Hana appeared then, her presence announced by her telepathic touch. May I share a theory? Please, Taemin said. Hana's mental voice was careful, precise. I have been sensing Ji-woo's emotions during combat. All of our emotions, actually. When we fight, I feel fear dominating most minds, fear mixed with determination, training trying to overcome instinct. But Ji-woo feels something different. What? Ji-woo asked. Protective rage. The moment you see someone in danger, all your fear transforms into anger toward the threat. You do not think of your own survival. You only think of neutralizing whatever is threatening the person you are protecting. It is automatic, like breathing. Taemin's eyes brightened, the closest thing to surprise Ji-woo had seen from the squad leader. That would explain much. If humans evolved not as pure predators or prey, but as protectors. Social creatures who specialized in defending the group rather than hunting or fleeing. That is a dangerous evolutionary strategy, Hana observed. Most protector species are massive, heavily armored, or venomous. Humans have none of these advantages. No, Taemin agreed. But they have something else. Stubbornness, the absolute refusal to quit. Before Ji-woo could respond, an alert sounded across the camp. Everyone froze. That particular sound meant one thing. Incoming attack. Big one. They gathered at the command post within minutes. The commander was a tall being named Wook, who had been fighting on Thresh 9 for 2 years. Their species had 4 legs and skin that shifted colors with emotion. Right now, that skin was dark red. Angry or afraid, Ji-woo could never tell which. Listen up, Wook said, their translator making the words sharp and clipped. We have a situation. The Vathkor are moving a large force toward the southern settlements. Intelligence suggests they are targeting the water processing facility. If they take it out, 20,000 civilians will have no clean water. They will die in days. The room was silent. Everyone understood what that meant. How large a force? Someone asked. At least 200 Vathkor. Maybe more. A wave of shocked murmurs ran through the assembled soldiers. 200 was impossible odds. The entire base only had 70 combat-capable troops. We cannot hold against those numbers, an officer said. We should evacuate the civilians now. There is no time, Wook replied. Transport ships are 3 hours out. The Vathakor will reach the facility in 90 minutes. If we run, those people die. If we fight, we die, the officer shot back. Wook's skin darkened further. Perhaps, but this is the mission. We defend those who cannot defend themselves. That was what we signed up for. Jiwoo felt something stir in her chest. That familiar feeling. The one that made her run toward the dog instead of away from it. The one that made her charge a Vathakor with an empty weapon. She stood up. Everyone looked at her. "We do not have to win," she said. "We just have to hold until the transports arrive." "That is still 200 against 70, someone said. "The math does not work." "The math never works in war," Jiwoo replied. "But here is the thing about the Vathakor. They do not value defense. They only know how to attack. They will come at us hard and fast, expecting us to break." "We probably will break," Taemin said quietly. "Maybe. But what if we do not break at the water facility?" Wook leaned forward. "Explain." Jiwoo pointed to the map display. "The facility has strong walls and limited entry points. Defensible. But the Vathakor will not expect real resistance. They think we are prey species. They think we will run. What if we make our stand there? What if we hold that building like our lives depend on it?" "Our lives do depend on it," someone muttered. "Exactly. And that is when humans are most dangerous." Jiwoo surprised herself with the confidence in her voice. "We do not quit when things get desperate. We get stubborn." Hana's presence touched Jiwoo's mind. She believes this completely. There is no doubt in her thoughts. Wook's skin shifted through several colors before settling on a cautious orange. "You think you can hold?" "I think we can try," Jiwoo said, "and trying is better than letting 20,000 people die without a fight." Taemin stood up beside her. "Fire squad will take point. We have held impossible positions before." Other squad leaders began standing. Slowly at first, then faster. Bomb's mechanical voice cut through the room. "Defense squad is in. Assault squad will support. Medical will set up inside the facility." One by one, every squad committed. Not because the odds were good, not because they expected to survive, but because the alternative was abandoning innocence to die. Wook's skin went pure white, an emotion Jiwoo had never seen before. Later, she would learn it meant pride. "Then we make our stand," Wook said. "All units move out in 15 minutes. May fortune favor the foolish." The facility was exactly as defensible as Jiwoo had hoped. Thick walls, few entrances, high windows perfect for firing positions. They had 1 hour to prepare before the Vathakor arrived. Taemin put Jiwoo in charge of the main entrance defense. It surprised her, but she did not question it. She positioned her team carefully. Overlapping fields of fire. Fallback positions. Choke points where superior numbers would not matter as much. The civilians were being evacuated from the facility to the transports as fast as possible. Children crying, parents shouting, old ones moving too slow. Jiwoo watched them and felt her resolve harden into something unbreakable. Hana appeared beside her. "You are thinking of someone. A little boy, back on Earth. I died for him. And now you will die for these people?" Jiwoo checked her weapon one last time. "If I have to, but I would rather live and keep protecting them." "That is very human," Hana said, and Jiwoo heard something like affection in the telepathic voice. Stubbornly optimistic even when facing impossible odds. Is there another way to be? Yes. Most species accept defeat when it is logical to do so. Humans apparently do not. The ground began to shake. Distant rumbling grew closer. The Vathakor were coming. Taemin's voice came over the communication channel. "Remember, we only need to hold for 2 hours. 2 hours and those civilians are safe. 2 hours between us and victory." 2 hours had never seemed so long. The Vathkor appeared on the horizon like a black tide, more than 200, maybe 300. They moved in formation, confident and unstoppable. They had every reason to be confident. They outnumbered the defenders 4-1, but they had never fought humans before. "Here they come," someone said unnecessarily. Jiwoo took a breath. Let it out slowly. Found that cold, calm place inside herself where fear lived but did not control. She thought of the boy with the ball, the children crying behind her right now, the 20,000 people depending on 70 soldiers to do the impossible. "Hold the line," she said quietly, then louder. "Hold the line!" The Vathkor charged. The world became fire and thunder once again, but this time something was different. This time the prey did not run. The first wave hit like a hammer. Vathkor warriors slammed against the facility's defenses with brutal force. Energy weapons lit up the red sky. Explosions shook the walls. The noise was so loud that Jiwoo felt it in her bones more than heard it. But the defenses held. The narrow entrances worked exactly as Jiwoo had planned. The Vathkor could not use their numbers effectively. They bunched up, pushing against each other to get through the choke points. The defenders cut them down methodically. Aim, fire, aim, fire. Every shot counted. Every shot had to count. "First wave repelled," someone shouted over the communication channel. Jiwoo allowed herself 1 second of relief. Then she saw the second wave forming. This one was bigger. The Vathkor were learning, adapting. They brought up heavy weapons, things that could punch through the walls. "They are going to breach the north wall!" Taemin's voice cut through the chaos. "I need reinforcements!" "Bomb Day, go!" Jiwoo ordered. "I will hold the main entrance." Her squad was down to 4 soldiers now. 2 had fallen in the first wave. 4 soldiers to hold the main entrance against what looked like 50 Vathkor preparing for another push. The math was impossible. But Jiwoo had stopped caring about math. "Listen," she said to her remaining squad members. "They think we will break. They think if they push hard enough, we will run. So we show them what humans do when they cannot run." "What do humans do?" asked Sung-ho, a young recruit who had joined Fire Squad just 3 days ago. "We get mean," Jiwoo said. The second wave came, but this time, Jiwoo did not wait for them to reach the entrance. She grabbed a pack of explosives, armed it, and threw it into the mass of approaching Vathkor. The blast sent bodies flying. "When they push, we push back harder," she shouted. It was reckless. It was stupid. It was the opposite of everything her training had taught her about defensive positions. But it worked. The Vathkor hesitated, confused by defenders who attacked during a defense. That moment of confusion cost them dearly. Sung-ho laughed, a slightly unhinged sound. "I understand now. We are crazy." "Yes," Jiwoo agreed, firing in controlled bursts. "Very crazy." The battle raged for 30 minutes, then an hour. The defenders lost ground slowly, but never broke. Every meter the Vathkor took cost them blood and bodies. The facility's interior became a maze of fallen warriors and scorch marks. Jiwoo's armor was cracked. Blood ran from a dozen small wounds. Her weapon was down to its last power cell. But she was still standing, still fighting. Hana's voice filled her head suddenly. "Jiwoo, we have a problem." "What now?" "Taemin's position is about to be overrun. 20 Vathkor broke through the north wall. They are heading for the civilian evacuation point. If they reach it before the last transport leaves—" Jiwoo did not need Hana to finish that sentence. Children were still loading onto the transports. Slow, scared children who needed 2 more minutes. Just 2 more minutes. "Where is Taemin?" "Wounded. Cannot move fast. The squad leader is trying to buy time, but there are too many." Jiwoo looked at her position. If she left, the main entrance would fall. The Vathkor would pour through. But if she stayed, those children would die. It was not even a choice. "Sung-ho, you are in command of this position." "What? Where are you going?" "To buy 2 minutes." Jiwoo grabbed her nearly empty weapon and ran. The facility's corridors were tight and dark. Jiwoo's armor lights showed the way. She could hear the Vath Corps behind her, their heavy footsteps echoing. They had broken through and were heading straight for the evacuation point. She had to reach it first. Jiwoo ran faster than she thought possible. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed, but she kept pushing. Around a corner, down a ramp, through a doorway that sparked with damaged electrical systems. There, the evacuation point. One transport remained, its loading ramp still down. Children climbing aboard slowly, so slowly. Their parents pushing them forward, desperate and afraid. And 20 Vath Corps warriors charging down the corridor toward them. Jiwoo skidded to a stop directly in their path. One human, one nearly empty weapon, 20 armored monsters who knew no fear. She planted her feet and raised her weapon. "Not today," she said. The Vath Corps saw her. They did not slow down. Why would they? She was nothing. One small human between them and their objective. They would crush her and keep moving. They had never met anyone who refused to be crushed. Jiwoo opened fire. Her shots were precise despite her exhaustion. She aimed for joints, for the weak points she had learned through weeks of combat. 2 Vath Corps went down, then 3. But they kept coming. Her weapon clicked empty. She dropped it and pulled her combat knife. The blade looked very small suddenly. The first Vath Corps reached her. Jiwoo ducked under its swing and drove her knife into its knee joint. The creature roared and stumbled. She rolled away, grabbing its fallen weapon. It was too big for her hands, but she made it work. Fire, roll, fire again. Stay moving. Do not let them pin you down. A massive hand caught her shoulder. Pain exploded through her body as the Vath Corps lifted her up. She twisted in its grip and stabbed her knife into what she hoped was something important. The creature dropped her but did not fall. Jiwoo hit the ground hard, her vision blurred. Blood filled her mouth. Something was broken inside her. Maybe several somethings. The Vath Corps raised its weapon. Point-blank range. No chance to dodge. Behind her, Jiwoo heard the transport's engines powering up. The loading ramp was closing. They had made it. The children were safe. That was enough. She closed her eyes and waited for the end. It did not come. Instead, she heard the sound of crystal breaking stone. Taemin appeared like an avenging ghost, moving despite obvious wounds. The squad leader's blade flashed, taking the Vath Corps' head clean off. "Foolish human," Taemin said, breathing hard. "Did you think I would let you have all the glory?" Hana was there too, and Bomb, and a dozen others. They had left their positions, abandoned the defensive strategy, all coming to this one corridor. All coming because one human had stood alone. "You should not have left your posts," Jiwoo tried to say, but the words came out as a cough. "You think we would let you fight alone?" Bomb's mechanical voice held something that might have been warmth. "That is not how squad works." The remaining Vath Corps found themselves facing not one desperate human, but an entire squad of very angry soldiers who had just watched their comrade nearly die protecting civilians. The battle was short and brutal. When it ended, Jiwoo was in Hana's arms. The telepathic being's touch in her mind was gentle, worried. "Stay awake," Hana urged. "Medical is coming." "Did the transport get away?" Jiwoo asked. "Yes, all civilians evacuated safely. You bought them the time they needed." "Good." Jiwoo's eyes wanted to close. "That's good." Taemin knelt beside her, crystalline face showing cracks from the battle. "Why did you do it? The strategic choice was to hold your position. One transport full of civilians against the entire defensive line. The math says you made the wrong choice." "I do not care about math," Jiwoo said. Her voice was getting weaker. "I care about children getting on transports. I care about people getting home safe. Even if it costs your life? Especially then." Taemin was quiet for a long moment. Then the squad leader did something Jiwoo had never seen before. Taemin bowed, a deep formal bow that seemed to carry great meaning. "I was wrong about humans," Taemin said. "I thought you were simply brave. But it is more than that. You are built to protect, designed by evolution to stand between danger and the innocent. No matter the cost, no matter the odds, you simply cannot do anything else." "Is that a compliment?" Jiwoo asked. "It is a statement of fact, and a warning to any enemy foolish enough to threaten those under human protection." Medical arrived then, their equipment humming. They worked on Jiwoo with practiced efficiency. The pain became distant, fuzzy. She heard Taemin giving orders, reorganizing the defense. The battle was not over yet, but they had held for 2 hours. The impossible 2 hours. And every civilian was safe. Jiwoo let herself drift, knowing she had done what she came here to do. She had stood her ground. She had protected those who could not protect themselves. Just like in the park, all those weeks ago on Earth, she was still that person. Death and resurrection had not changed who she was. And that person did not run from danger. That person ran toward it, even if it meant running alone. 3 days later, Jiwoo woke up in medical. Her body was mostly repaired, though the doctors said she would carry scars from the fight, physical ones to match the ones on her memory. Taemin was sitting beside her bed, which surprised her. The squad leader rarely rested. "You are awake. Good." "Did we hold?" Jiwoo asked immediately. "Yes." The VAF Corps withdrew after losing nearly half their force. They had never encountered defenders who refused to break. It confused them, made them doubt their intelligence about our strength. "Good." Taemin leaned forward. "Something has happened. Word of the defense has spread. Specifically word about you. About a human who stood alone against 20 VAF Corps to protect children. I was not alone. You all came. But you stood first, before anyone else moved, before it was safe or logical. You stood." Jiwoo did not know what to say to that. "The other species in the Galactic Defense Corps are talking," Taemin continued. "They want to know more about humans, about Earth, about what kind of world produces soldiers who fight like you do. Command is requesting more human recruits." "There are more of us," Jiwoo said. "So many more. People who would do what I did. People who run toward danger to help others. We call them firefighters, doctors, teachers, parents. They are everywhere on Earth." Taemin's crystalline eyes brightened. "Then the galaxy is about to learn a very important lesson. It is not the species with the biggest teeth or the strongest armor that is most dangerous. It is the species that refuses to abandon those they have chosen to protect." "Is that a human thing?" Jiwoo asked. "I do not know yet," Taemin admitted. "But I am eager to find out. Rest now. When you are healed, we have more work to do." "The war continues?" "Always. But now we have something we did not have before. We have hope, and we have humans." Taemin left, and Jiwoo closed her eyes. She thought about Earth, about Seoul, about a little boy playing with a ball in a park. She thought about all the people back home who had no idea that humanity had just been introduced to the galaxy. She hoped they were ready. Because if Jiwoo was any indication, the galaxy was definitely not ready for humans. Somewhere in the facility, children were laughing. Safe. Protected. Alive. And Jiwoo smiled because that sound made everything worthwhile. The message reached Earth 6 weeks after the water facility battle. It was not the first message. The Galactic Defense Corps had sent diplomatic communications before, formal introductions and offers of alliance. Earth's governments had been confused, cautious, unsure how to respond to aliens who claimed one of their citizens was fighting in a war across the stars, but this message was different. This one included combat footage. The world watched Jiwoo stand alone against 20 VAF Corps. They watched her hold that corridor while children evacuated behind her. They watched her fall, get up, and keep fighting. The footage was grainy and the perspective was odd, recorded from Hana's telepathic observation point, but the message was clear. One of their own had become a hero among the stars. The response was overwhelming. Earth's governments finally understood what the galaxy was offering. Not just alliance, but a chance to prove humanity's worth on a cosmic stage. Within days, recruitment centers opened across the planet. Volunteers lined up by the thousands. They came from everywhere. Police officers who spent their lives protecting others. Firefighters who ran into burning buildings. Soldiers, doctors, teachers, parents. All of them had one thing in common. When asked why they volunteered, they said the same thing in different ways. Because someone needs help. On Thresh 9, Jiwoo knew nothing about Earth's response. She was too busy fighting. The Vath Corps had changed their tactics after the water facility. They were more cautious now, less confident. They had learned that prey species could bite back. But caution made them more dangerous, not less. They probed defenses carefully. They attacked weak points. They adapted faster than anyone expected. Fire Squad adapted faster. Under Taemin's leadership and Jiwoo's growing tactical insight, they became specialists in impossible situations. When a position could not be held, Fire Squad held it. When civilians needed extraction from hot zones, Fire Squad went in. When command needed someone to do the mission no one else would take, they called Fire Squad. The squad's composition had changed. More humans arrived with each transport. Volunteers from Earth who had seen the footage and wanted to fight beside Jiwoo. She tried to tell them she was not special, not a hero. They did not listen. One of the new arrivals was a woman named Yuna. She had been a trauma surgeon in Busan. She volunteered the day the footage aired on Earth News. Why? Jiwoo asked during their first mission together. You could save lives in a hospital. Why come here? Yuna checked her weapon with practiced ease. The training was good, but her hands still remembered scalpels more than rifles. In the hospital, I could save maybe 10 lives a day. Here, protecting civilians from the Vath Corps, I can save thousands. The math is simple. The math says you will probably die, Jiwoo pointed out. Maybe, but those thousands will live. That is enough. Jiwoo recognized that certainty. She had felt it herself in a Seoul park, facing a rabid dog. It was the same thing that made her stand in a corridor against impossible odds. Some humans were just built that way, wired to protect, to sacrifice, to stand between danger and the innocent. The galaxy had never encountered a species like that before. Over the next months, human soldiers spread across the war zones. They brought their strange perspective with them, their refusal to quit, their stubborn optimism, their absolute inability to abandon anyone they considered under their protection. Other species watched in fascination and confusion. Humans took wounds that should have sent them fleeing and kept fighting. They held positions long after retreat was the logical choice. They went back for fallen comrades even when it was tactically foolish. The Vath Corps noticed too. They started avoiding human units when possible. Fighting humans was costly. Even when the Vath Corps won, they lost too many warriors. It was not fear exactly. The Vath Corps did not fear anything, but they respected threat assessment. And humans had become a significant threat. On Thresh 9, the war reached a critical point. The Vath Corps were preparing a massive offensive. Intelligence suggested they were bringing in their home fleet, enough firepower to glass the planet if they could not take it by ground assault. Command called a meeting of all senior squad leaders. Taemin brought Jiwoo despite her relatively low rank. She had earned the right through blood and survival. Commander Wook stood before the assembled leaders. Their color-shifting skin was a deep, troubled purple. The situation is simple, Wook said. The Vath Corps are going to destroy Thresh 9. They have decided that if they cannot conquer it, no one can have it. Orbital bombardment begins in 72 hours. Silence fell over the room. What about evacuation? Someone asked. We can evacuate military personnel, most of them, but there are still 8 million civilians on this planet. We cannot move them in 72 hours. We would need weeks. The silence grew heavier. So we are abandoning them? Jiwoo's voice cut through the quiet. She stood up, not waiting for permission. 8 million people are going to die and we are just leaving? We do not have a choice, Wook said, skin flashing dark red. The Vathkor fleet is too powerful. Even if we called in every ship in range, we could not stop the bombardment. Then we do not stop it from space. We stop it from the ground. Everyone stared at Jiwoo like she had lost her mind. Explain, Taemin said calmly. Jiwoo moved to the tactical display. The Vathkor fleet will not fire while their ground forces are still engaged. They value their warriors. They would not kill their own to kill us. So we keep their ground forces engaged. We pin them down in the cities, make them unable to withdraw to safe distance. That is suicide, an officer said. We would be trapped on the planet with them during the bombardment countdown. No, we would be forcing them to choose. Withdraw their ground forces and lose face, or delay the bombardment to save their warriors. Either choice gives us more time to evacuate civilians. And when they finally do withdraw and start firing? Someone asked. Jiwoo met their eyes. Then some of us do not evacuate. Some of us stay behind and keep fighting, keep them engaged until every civilian is off-world, and then... She did not finish. She did not need to. Taemin stood up slowly. You are volunteering to be the last ones on the planet, to die here so others can live. Yes. That is insane. That is human, Jiwoo corrected. And I am not volunteering alone. I am asking for volunteers, anyone willing to buy time with their lives, anyone willing to stand between 8 million civilians and orbital bombardment. The room erupted in arguments. It was suicide. It was pointless. It was throwing away trained soldiers for a delay that might not matter. The objections came fast and logical and correct. But slowly, soldiers began standing. First Yuna, the former surgeon. Then Bomb, the mechanical warrior. Then Hana, the telepath. Then more and more. Taemin stood last, crystalline form catching the light. Fire squad volunteers, as does defense squad. Assault squad is in. One by one, every squad leader stood. Not because it made sense, not because it was the smart tactical choice, but because 8 million civilians needed someone to buy them time. Wook's skin went through a dozen colors before settling on pure white. You are all mad. Probably, Jiwoo agreed. But we are also right. The commander was quiet for a long time. Then they nodded slowly. Command will not order this, but command will not stop volunteers. Those who choose to stay will be remembered. Your names will be honored across the galaxy. We do not need honor, Jiwoo said. We need evacuation transports and 72 hours. They got both. The battle that followed became legend. The last stand of Thresh 9, historians would call it later. 5,000 soldiers, half of them human, engaging 200,000 Vathkor warriors across a dozen cities. Not to win, not to hold ground, just to be annoying enough that the Vathkor could not safely withdraw. It worked perfectly. The Vathkor could not retreat without looking weak. Their culture would not allow it. So they kept fighting, kept pushing, kept trying to dislodge the defenders. And every hour they spent fighting was another hour for evacuation transports to load civilians and flee to safety. Jiwoo led Fire Squad through the ruins of the capital city. They hit and ran, ambushed and retreated, made themselves impossible to pin down. They were not trying to kill Vathkor anymore. They were just trying to keep them angry and engaged. By hour 60, half the volunteers were dead. The survivors were running on stimulants and pure stubbornness. Ji-Woo's armor was more patched than original material. She had lost count of her wounds. But the evacuation continued. 7 million civilians off-world, then 7.5 million, then 8 million. Hana's voice filled Ji-Woo's mind. The last transport is loading. 20 more minutes. 20 minutes. An eternity in combat. A heartbeat in a life. Fire Squad, consolidate at Checkpoint Alpha, Ji-Woo ordered. We make our last stand there. They gathered in what used to be a school. The irony was not lost on Ji-Woo. A place where children learned, now where soldiers would die protecting children they would never meet. Taemin stood beside her as the Vathkor closed in. The crystalline squad leader's body was cracked in 100 places, barely holding together. Do you regret it? Taemin asked. The dog, the choice that brought you here. Ji-Woo thought about it. About Earth and soul, and a normal life she would never have again. About coffee shops and bookstores and walking down safe streets. Then she thought about the little boy in the park, about 3,000 children in a refugee shelter, about 8 million civilians boarding transports to safety. No, she said, I do not regret it. This is who I am, who humans are. We protect. It is what we do. Even unto death? Especially unto death. The Vathkor crashed through the outer walls. Fire Squad met them with everything they had left. It was not enough, could never be enough. But it was something. It was defiance. It was 5,000 soldiers telling the universe that some things were worth dying for. Ji-Woo fought with her last strength. Beside her, Yuna fired her final rounds. Bomb's mechanical body finally gave out, but the warrior kept fighting with nothing but determination. Hana's telepathic presence blazed like a star, keeping them coordinated even as her physical body failed. Last transport away! Someone shouted over the communication channel. 8 million souls safe! Mission complete! Ji-Woo laughed. It hurt to laugh, but she did it anyway. They had done it, bought the time, saved the civilians, won the only victory that mattered. The Vathkor fleet began orbital bombardment 3 minutes later, but 5 minutes before the first strike, something unexpected happened. The sky filled with ships, Galactic Defense Corps vessels, responding to a massive call for reinforcements. They engaged the Vathkor fleet directly, buying time for one last evacuation. The evacuation of the volunteers. Command had not abandoned them after all. While the last stand held the Vathkor's attention, every available transport in 3 systems had been racing to Thresh 9. They dropped from orbit like angels of steel, scooping up the surviving defenders even as orbital bombardment began. Ji-Woo found herself on a transport, barely conscious. Taemin was beside her, still somehow alive. Hana, Yuna, Bomb, survivors. Against all odds, survivors. We made it, Yuna said in wonder. No, Taemin corrected. They made it. 8 million civilians. That is what matters. Ji-Woo closed her eyes and let the exhaustion take her. She had bought them time, bought them life, and somehow impossibly survived to do it again. The message that went out to Earth was simple. 5,000 soldiers, half of them human, had held a planet against impossible odds to save 8 million lives. The last stand of Thresh 9 had succeeded. And humanity, that strange species of protective predators, had proven something the galaxy desperately needed to learn. That courage was not the absence of fear, that heroism was not about survival, that sometimes the greatest victory was simply refusing to abandon those who needed you. The galaxy was learning, and it was learning from humans. Ji-Woo woke up weeks later in a proper hospital, not a field medical station. Her body was mostly healed. The doctors said she would survive. Again. Taemin visited her room. The squad leader's crystalline body had been repaired, though new cracks would always show where the old ones had been. Scars, in their own way. The Vathkor have withdrawn from 3 systems, Taemin said without preamble. The last stand broke something in them. They no longer believe they are invincible. And humans are being requested across every front. Earth cannot train volunteers fast enough to meet demand. We are just doing what anyone would do, Jiwoo said. No, that is the point. No one else does what humans do. Most species fight to survive. Humans fight to protect. It is different. It changes everything. Will it change the war? It already has. The Vathkor are seeking negotiations for the first time in 3,000 years. They respect strength, and humans have shown them a kind of strength they never imagined. The strength to die, protecting strangers. Jiwoo thought about that. About a dog and a child. About a corridor and a last stand. About all the moments she had chosen protection over survival. What happens now? She asked. Now? Now you rest, you heal, and then you train the next generation of human soldiers, teach them what you know, show them how to be what the galaxy needs. And what is that? Taemin's crystalline eyes gleamed. Guardians. Humanity's greatest export to the galaxy is not technology or resources. It is guardians, people who will stand between danger and the innocent, who will run toward the screaming instead of away from it, who will give their last breath protecting a stranger's child. Jiwoo smiled. Like in Seoul, like in the park. Like in the park, Taemin agreed. You guarded a predator cub with your last breath. You opened your eyes in an alien war zone, and you taught the galaxy what humanity truly is. What is that? Hope. Stubborn, impossible, beautiful hope. The hope that someone will always stand, that someone will always protect. That no matter how dark it gets, there are humans who will run toward the danger, not away from it. Through the hospital window, Jiwoo could see Earth. Small and blue and perfect. Home. She thought about all the people down there. All the guardians who did not even know they were guardians yet. All the humans who would make the same choice she did, given the chance. The galaxy was not ready for them, but it needed them desperately. And Jiwoo would make sure they were ready for the galaxy. She had died once protecting a child. She had lived 100 times protecting millions, and she would do it again, as many times as needed, because that was what humans did. They protected, they stood, they refused to quit. And the galaxy finally was learning to be grateful for that.